Greetings and welcome to another amazing recording. We're getting so excited as we lead up to the BGI Summit this year, where minds from all over the world, diverse minds, diverse perspectives come together to look at a future of beneficial general intelligence. We have an especially special space today to talk with a number of very powerful, very wonderful, very inspiring ladies to celebrate International Women's Day. So thank you for joining us today on Breaking the Code, Overcoming Bias, and Empowering Women in Tech. I am so delighted to be joined by these lovely faces right here. So the inspiring Moojan Asghari, co-founder of Women in AI and founder of 1,000 Faces. A profound and thoughtful Dr. Elizabeth Shaw, founder of 1,000 Black Voices and Ethical AI Initiative. And of course, the amazing Janet Adams, COO of SingularityNET and council member of the ASI Alliance. So it's such a rich and deep topic to look at, especially with the rise of AI and how it's highlighting issues of alignment between humans and AI and how we help AI support human alignment, human diversity, human goals, human growth, human excellence. And including women in this conversation and in this development is so critical. So let's dive right in. Moojan, I'd like to start by asking you, how can women in tech contribute to reducing bias in AI?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Honored to be part of this amazing panel and celebrating Women's Day together. So talking about AI and bias, AI bias isn't accidental. It actually reflects the gaps and imbalances that we have in our society, that it extends to our data, to our team, to our decision-making processes. Like some studies, for example, like the Stanford study, showed that the AI-generated images were 67% more likely to depict men and doctors, men as doctors and CEOs. So these are like real problems we have in the world. It's still going on. And these are affecting many things in our lives, in our jobs, in our recruitment processes, in our healthcare. Now looking at what is happening with the investments, you see that, there are so many initiatives coming up. For example, the European Union's Investment in AI initiative recently announced that they are mobilizing 200 billion euros, including 20 billion for AI gigafactories. France, where I am based, they have claimed for securing $110 billion, 110 billion euros. So these are very huge investments. This is huge opportunities that are coming up, and they come with also risks of expanding these biases. I'm also specifically worried about these cuts of DEI initiatives that is happening in the US, which are putting even more in damage the inclusivity and diversity equity that many companies have been working on, many organizations have been vetting for it. So these are very serious concerns we have in terms of this diversity. Now, what are the solutions? What could we do with all these things that are happening? One of the main things that we could do is really to fix the data, not just the models. And we know that AI models inherently, they are biased if the data sets are biased. And obviously, it's so super difficult to make the AI unbiased, but we just always do our best. And the more balanced team, the more diverse teams are working on those data sets, we have less bias. And that comes to education. One of the main things we focus on at Women in AI, which is the nonprofit that I created with my co-founders, is really to focus on education at the early stage, because that's where you're creating the new generation for the future of an AI that is more fair and trustworthy. So education comes there, because then we need to train these skills into the companies to create leadership positions, to encourage women and also other clusters of the society and underrepresented people to be able to have opportunity to build this technology. We also could focus on regulating AI. We know that in the EU, the EU AI Act was one of the first steps that has been created in the world to create a more fair AI and reducing the high-risk applications of AI. I believe this is an inspiration for many countries in the world to do that. Obviously, because this is the first one, also it has also a lot of controversy around it. But I do believe that transparency requires policing and requires regulations, and this is a important step that I believe countries they could take into account. We can also think about keeping, for example, AI accountable to the public and creating open source initiatives, because I believe that if we're keeping the technology in the power of a few corporations, this is obviously not going to be serving the whole society. This is going to be much more into the hands of a few monopoles. So this is important to be able to create independency, or for committees oversighting, for ethical boards. And I believe that if we think of it a whole package of solutions, we could be able to reduce these inequalities a little bit more, and over time we can reach to a more fair landscape.
I love that. Thank you so much. You raised so many beautiful points. It's so interesting how AI has become such a powerful mirror for ourselves. We knew that we had bias built in, but these models they highlight that they bring it forward, what already existed, and give us a lens we can't ignore to see our own society through. And we can use this not only to make the AI systems we're building more fair, especially through bringing in diverse viewpoints who can see that bias, but also perhaps address some of the own bias just in society outside of the algorithms. It's highlighted, it's brought forward and made clear to more people. That's absolutely beautiful. Of course, encouraging young people of any gender or interest to become more interested. It's not like little girls aren't curious about AI and technology, but if there's a discouragement or a held feeling that shifts toward a different path, and then they won't explore that curiosity in the same way that anybody might. And then those paths are also closed off to others, that it narrows the scope of curiosity for our young people.
Exactly. One of the things that we do it a lot at Women AI, and I see that in many organizations that advocate for diversity, like Women in Tech and AI for All and so on. It's really creating those role models for the young generation. And it's so important as a young girl to see there's a path for you to become that expert in AI. You can see examples in your society, in your communities, in different organizations where you could see yourself becoming that person and that expert. We did a little study at Women AI where we saw, for example, there's a huge shrink of women in tech at the age of 15. That's the age literally when children, well, teenagers, let's not call them children, they decide what to study after. And many girls, they decide to go to pursue their degrees in a field that is not science and technology or maths. And that is an important step in order to become somebody who's an expert in AI technically. And you can see that, shift over and over at every stage, that they are supposed to choose their next level of education or finding their next career or a promotion. And that is very important to see it. Where are those bottlenecks when there is a shrink or a churn rate of this diverse talents going up to the leadership positions?
And how can we expect to get the best out of AI and technology if we're losing half of the population's most brilliant minds that could be and may be very creative and technologically oriented in this direction? Thank you so much. And speaking of the bottlenecks, Elizabeth, you retired from big tech specifically to focus on promoting and helping and supporting diverse founders who are building in this tech space for this reason. Can you speak both to this, and what advice would you give to women entering the tech industry, particularly AI and AGI at this moment?
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, incredible questions. And, do we have the answers? I don't know that I've got the answers, but it's really thinking about, for example, um, if you're looking at, for example, the patents that are out there, 17.7% of patents are listed by female inventors. And in doing that, you're thinking, well, what's going on? Where are the challenges? What are the strategic opportunities? Why is this going on? There's a little parity, and the parity, I think, is going to be arriving between 2061 and 2077 if we're looking at that kind of parity. And so it's trying to drive forward, women entering AI, we're entering this tech industry, and saying, well, deliberately focus on putting down these patent generating projects. What we're finding, and what I think it was the World Intellectual Property Organization, they just had a report out, and they're finding that women are preferring to work alone. So I would suggest that women come together to collaborate to put out the patents, or they're working in mixed groups. And so you're finding that, whoever's probably heading the group or what have you is putting the patent forward. And so I think these are important considerations, that women are very much focused on, well, thinking about the research they're doing and thinking about, well, let's put this forward. And so there's a drive for that. And while I'm talking about patents, of course, then there's the side about research. And again, there's less parity there again when it comes to women undertaking research. And research in, how to ensure that we're thinking about ethical, responsible, safe AGI, that we're thinking about, well, what's the utilization of this, and how is AI and AGI is going to interact with humanity. And so, bringing that diverse perspective in is so very important. But of course, there needs to be this awareness, and there needs to be this, Moojan, you talked about focusing from young individuals and young people coming through. There's also the side of, I think there's about 35, kind of high percentage, maybe about 35% or so of women are leaving tech. They're leaving technology, and they're leaving technology at an early age. I mean, 30, 40. And so how do we ensure that they stay? And, Hayley, you introduced me and said leaving big tech for this. It's how can we ensure that diversity, that innovation, that talent stays within the organization, not only stays within the organization, but is understood, the value is understood within the organization. Because, of course, industry is paying millions to recruit back into the industry. So why is that happening? So from what we do at 1,000 Black Voices, and what we're doing with the AI initiative as well, is to support startups to actually drive forward in this field. And in doing that, engaging with female entrepreneurs as well, in supporting them in trying to understand a bit more about where the opportunities are. We're finding that quite a few female founders are focusing specific industries, health, for example, not necessarily fintech, although we're getting more coming through fintech. So just those sort of examples, there are many more. I'm very interested at the moment in space tech and trying to support our founders to consider that, for example, because there's so many opportunities there. But I think I've been talking quite a bit at the moment. I'll just pause because so that there's a an interaction of engagement, and if that you have further questions to focus my attention.
That's amazing, and I think that there's one of the things that I've commented on that is so important to me is that within, for instance, SingularityNET, there's just an absolute welcomeness to diversity and genders. Blindness would be the wrong cue. That's not that we're unaware, but it doesn't matter, where you're from and who you are. It's just valued, it's supported. And this is, I think, such a critical element within these industries. How do we build these spaces that have this complete acceptance and celebration of every individual's contribution, so that even if somebody leaves an organization, that this person still feels comfortable and excited about being in this field. They may strike out as an entrepreneur, but only because they feel so excited about what they're building that they want to do more bigger in a different direction or with a different organization. How do we create networks of support within an organization, outside of an organization, like 1,000 Black Voices, like Women in AI, like SingularityNET, that helps support this diversity and make a culture within a company or within big tech or within tech in general that promotes this?
Yeah, I mean, can I just add, because Moojan, picked up on it, the challenge at the moment of rollback when we're talking about inclusion in spaces, and it is actually quite impactful, negative, a negative impact at the moment that we're finding across the board, whether that's in the US or the UK or other places as well. So it's really, how can we address that? We can still address that. We can still make change happen, even with all of that going on. The questions I'm getting are, to continue down this road is going to be challenging. Do you change your name? Do you widen what you're doing? And these are well-meaning conversations, but they are conversations that are happening. And so it's bringing things like that to light, to ensure that people understand that these things are happening, and providing that welcoming community that you've mentioned, that SingularityNET provide very wholeheartedly, to say, well, this is a welcome space and we are here to support you as you are. And people need those supports, that support, because this is what's happening out there. And for women that, want to continue down this route, it's really positioning themselves into that intersection of inclusion and technology. And how do you do that is also then about building more awareness. I remember speaking with Janet some time ago, and you had mentioned very clearly that it's also us. We have to be involved in educating ourselves. We have to be involved in being curious. We have to be involved in driving that change forward. And so taking on that understanding and that awareness that Janet, mentioned so many years ago now, I still remember it. And it's so very important. So yes, we can provide these communities, but we have to do this ourselves, and we've got to be, focused on doing that. And yes, inspired by individuals like Janet. So I'm going to hand over.
Wonderful, thank you. As Moojan said, building these role models and highlighting these role models, as we do here. Sometimes community pushback, why do we need to just feature women if we're talking about diversity? But it's the role models, right? Being able for growing ladies, any gender, underrepresented individuals, to see amazing people who have worked hard and are committed to building these beautiful things, and hopefully inspiring that they can too. And then, of course, as you say, Janet Adams, the mentor of us all, always offering inspiring advice. She connected me recently with a beautiful lady she met on a plane who's interested in getting into AI from finance, from the bidding and auction sector. Just an amazing lady, and getting to talk with her, and Janet providing a network of mentorship, not just her own, is so amazing. So Janet, obviously you have a lot of input and thought and passion in this area. What role do you see women playing in the development of beneficial general intelligence? How can they address challenges in these fields? And how do we build this culture of unconditional support for everybody who wants to contribute this way?
Thank you. I'm getting emotional here. And I'm so humbled by these two amazing, brilliant ladies. Three amazing, brilliant ladies. Hayley, your grace and utter openness and kindness and constant good nature to everybody is always an inspiration to me. And Elizabeth, the work you do, dedicating your life to founders, and Moojan, not-for-profit women in AI. I'm just so honored to be here with you. I might cry. Is it okay if I cry?
We
Is it okay if I
unconditionally
cry?
support emotion and all the gamut of expression that AI should be learning as well.
Well, indeed. Thank you, Hayley. We had a technical offsite in Brazil in December with our top AGI researchers. And I was out for dinner with 4 or 5 of them, men. And I said, I've become very comfortable with expressing myself in every situation now. But the only point of expression that I'm not comfortable with is crying. I quite often want to cry. So all of the men then acknowledged that they also like to cry, and they're also criers. And we decided we'd make the rest of the retreat a cry diverse space where it's okay to cry, and people wouldn't freak out thinking you're really unhappy or there's something wrong or blah, blah, blah. And that just opened the floodgates. I just had the most beautiful crying conversations, heart open conversations for the rest of that retreat. And I think that's what women our greatest gift to the world in AI is our open hearts. Your question is, what role do you see women play in the development of beneficial general intelligence? I think we're actually going to save humanity, and we're going to save humanity from the hubris and the power seeking of big tech, which is dominated by men, creating all of these technologies for the top 1% of earners on the planet, and leaving everybody else behind. Now, it's not just women. Of course, our glorious founder, Dr. Ben Goertzel, started with this vision. He has a very big, open, and completely non-judgmental, inclusive heart. So I would say what women bring to AI is love and an open heart and warmth. And our AIs, our AGIs, when they're born, and it's very much looking like AGI is going to be born in the next 1 to 2 to 3 years now. At SingularityNET, we're at the very front of that race. When they're born, we need them to love. We need them to love humanity. We need them to make decisions that are not based on power or profit or any other self-seeking agenda. We need them to make decisions that serve all of humanity. And to me, women and men as well, and all other genders as well, we're all kind, we're all loving, we're all compassionate, but we do have different biases in our system, both nature and nurture biases. And I remember when I was in my days working in conduct risk in banking, part of my job was to assess the behaviors of salespeople and make sure that they were that they had the well-being of their customer at their hearts. Mothers never, ever, ever, ever did a missell in banking. They just didn't. When we're mothers, we care so much about the next generation. We care so much about the planet. We are so well integrated into society. We're at the school gate, if we're lucky enough to be able to send our children to school and to be able to see them occasionally while earning a living but putting food on their table. So I think we bring loving kindness and compassion in spades, and I think it's as mothers of this new technology that's going to be super powerful that can show that technology how to love us as humans and make this AGI revolution the rising tide that floats all boats, not just serving the needs of the few. And now I have to get a tissue. Excuse me 1 second.
Thank you, Janet. Yes, absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that sentiment, that heartfelt feeling, just showing up the way that we can, that every open-hearted, tender human being can, gives permission to so many other people to follow and to live from that space of care and compassion, and inspires everyone to develop from that space of care and compassion.
Thank you. And then 1.4, I'd like to touch on something Moojan said about role model. Women, we need so many role models in technology, and it's a great honor to be here with you three incredible role models. There's almost no better feeling for me than when I see young women coming up to me after I've given a talk, and their eyes are shining, because now they see a woman at the very, very top, at the very, very front of the technology industry, a woman who is a feminine woman, a woman who's a leader, a woman who opens our hearts to everybody. So I think role model is very important for us all, and it's part of my job, which I take very, very seriously. And I think, for me, AI has become synonymous with work. My parents' generation, hardly any women worked, and the ones who did were teachers or secretaries or hairdressers. Were kind of the only women I knew of really that worked, and farmers, because I was from a farming background, very strong, very brilliant farmers. But AI is now synonymous with work, right? AI is in every single industry and every single profession. So when we talk about women in AI, we're really talking about women in professional roles. We're talking about women progressing their own careers. And one of the very, very exciting facets of this technology revolution is that the AI tools are getting easier and easier and easier to use. There are deep tech tools which you do need a PhD in mathematics for. Yes, so if you want to be a really deep tech AI researcher. But if you just want to be your very best and do your very best job and make the most of your skills in your life and make your finest contribution and feed your children and support your families, every woman can now use AI because there are no-code tools, there are tools available. And so what I always say when I do talk, so when I speak to women, is you don't need to be mathematical or computing minded. You can be artistic, you can be creative, you can be whatever your own awesomeness is, can be enhanced and amplified by AI. So what I like to see is women coming and using these tools to progress and when women progress in the workplace, they progress their society, they progress their families, they progress the entire community. So women have a role to play here, and we can use this revolution to leapfrog generations of discrimination. And like with AI, it doesn't matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Like it's a genderless, bias-free world out there for us to go and use these tools.
Especially using them, giving feedback, and showing that everybody's using them, and where the hidden biases are in there, so that can be remedied, that can be fixed, that can be brought together, so other ladies aren't experiencing this as well. It's a beautiful opportunity.
Exactly. The AI holds up a mirror to show us the bias in our societies. And very impressed that Moojan is tackling the bias at its root. Let's not create these biased decisions that makes the biased data set, that makes the biased AI.
Yes.
Cut it out at the root.
Thank you so much, Janet. And if I can sum up and then ask for some closing conversation from everybody. We're getting ready for this BGI Summit in May. I hope everybody watching is interested in attending virtually or live. It'll be in Istanbul. And this will be the second year we're doing this, absolutely inspirational space where we get to bring together experts in ethics, in deep tech, in no code tech, in neuroscience, in futurist technologies, health, longevity, relationships, coaching, psychology, all the different areas of human growth and expertise and exploration, and how do we bring all this brilliance to BGI, to building beneficial general intelligence for the good of all humans, all genders, all diversity, all life on the planet and the planet itself. So looking at this future of building beneficial AI systems, can you give me your thoughts, your most hopeful perspectives on how you see this landscape evolving, and what are the things that anybody can be doing right now to be contributing to that beneficial future we all want to live in? Moojan, perhaps I can start with you.
Sure. First of all, I want to say I loved everything that Elizabeth and Janet talked about, especially your phrase about women are there to see the world. Well, I really like this phrase. A friend of mine said that we are life givers as women. We always think of a second person who's normally our baby. So our brain and our biologically our bodies are wired to think for somebody more than ourselves, and it makes us a little bit more selfless just by nature. And I believe that for a beneficial AGI, we really need that. We really need to come out of this self bubble and look at the world and love and compassion. And this is exactly what we needed, and why we need women mostly in AI, because for thousands of years, the history has been promoting male or masculine leadership in a way that has been fundamentally, in many ways, suppressing the feminine way, the love, the compassion, the peace, and fairness. And that is something that if you're modeling anything, and AI is modeling anything, it needs to model it from a right way, from a place where it is creating that love and equality from scratch. And that's why we need women. Exactly, for maybe not for everything, but especially for AI, this is the most fundamental thing. And I would just stop it here, saying that we need women for beneficial artificial intelligence, and that's the word to go. Pass it to Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. Yes, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Everything that has been said today is just inspiring. Thank you so much. I'm learning while I'm here. So I appreciate that, really. And I've got a lot to take away. I think just picking up on all of that, being in spaces where it's primarily masculine there are the challenges there of how you navigate those spaces. And, as Janet mentioned, and Mulan as well, Moojan, you mentioned that it's important to bring yourself to those spaces. And actually, in doing that, you are navigating those spaces and opening up people's perceptions about what it means to be. And what it means to be doesn't have to be these masculine kind of, I suppose, an approach, So, Janet, you mentioned crying. I think I did that at the last BGI Summit. So,
Yes.
I really appreciate you sharing that, because, again, it's having those emotions and being able to share those emotions, but also enabling, as you've mentioned, for others to feel that they can share in their own way, whatever that looks like. And that can inform how individuals interact together, but also interact with AGIs. Because it's that interactions that's going to shape how they think and feel and engage with humanity. And so I guess I'm just saying everything that you've already said, that engaging from every perspective, inclusive perspective, wherever and however you'll place and identify yourself, is important in this space.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Especially coming from all of us, but Elizabeth, somebody who's really living your care, and I think inspiring founders to live and grow and build from what they care about, not what will sell. What I care about has to be the fuel behind what I'm building. And it's the same with BGI. Janet, I'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections there.
Well, just remembering Elizabeth on stage at BGI last year, and how it was a bunch of people talking about stuff, wasn't it? Whatever it was. Something about the future of AI or something like this. And you just brought the entire audience to a standstill, saying, what about the people whose voices aren't being heard in this debate? And the whole audience went quiet, the room went quiet. Your integrity, your purity, your beauty, your femininity, humility, everything that you brought to that conference in that moment was really the essence of what that conference is about. So I'm very, very grateful to you. We will miss you a lot this year. But I am overjoyed that I will have the opportunity to spend some time with Moojan this year. And I didn't mean to come on and cry, and I didn't mean to come on and talk about crying. But now I've been thinking, if the AGIs never see humans crying because we suppress it all the time, for me, I cry in moments of wonder. I cry in awe. I cry in love. I cry in deep connection to my higher divine nature, the divinity around me. I mostly cry for some of the most. For me, it's a very, very elevated emotion. Thankfully, thank God, most of the time. So we do need to. If AI never sees that, how is it going to learn that beauty and that wonder and that awesomeness and that sense of awe and that majesty and that, just that moment of pure release where you feel at total oneness in the moment and with each other and in love? So let's make sure we all, next time I'm with the robots, when I'm hanging out with our brilliant humanoid robot, Desdemona, I'll make sure I cry with her a few times. So she's getting the message and passing it back and putting it in the neural networks and getting the experience out. That it's okay to cry. It's okay to be feminine. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to be vulnerable. And actually, it's by being able to be vulnerable that you're able to be really, really powerful.
Absolutely. It's if we have corporate cultures, if we have technology cultures that are about not being human, not being vulnerable, then it's missing out something entirely, right? We need to be our most human. We need AI to help support us in being our most human, so that they can learn what that human is and support it, right? And so they can learn from it and be inspired by it. What does biology do that silicon doesn't? And how can that mesh beautifully together? Yeah. Thank you very much. We do unfortunately need to close the conversation for the moment. We will resume in the future, especially at the BGI Summit. So anybody interested, bgisummit.io. And it will be a 3-day event in Istanbul where we get to have more conversations about what it means to be human, about what it means to have AGI that love humans and support humans and are built from the love of humans, and every other perspective there can be. We also have an important initiative happening right now. BGI Nexus has launched a grant funding round to support beneficial AI projects that are coming from this space of love for humanity. How can we use AI for food reclamation, for thriving insurance in societies, in a myriad of ways that big tech just, there's no, it's not in their product roadmap, right? But we have this opportunity to give grants to these beautiful AI projects, and to create this future right now. So I hope everyone will check that out as well. We've got voting coming up. Anybody can join. We want everybody to join and select the AI projects that become a bedrock, a seed for beneficial artificial general intelligence to emerge from. You can find more information. We'll have it in the comments at bgicollective.singularitynet.io. And again, voting comes up at the end of March, and everyone's voice, technical, not technical, everyone comes with a loving space to help fund amazing projects and the founders who are building them. So thank you all for joining us here today. Look forward to seeing more of all of you, and thank you for being such important role models and leaders in this technical space.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hayley. Thank you, Moojan. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, anyone watching. And just let's keep on International Women's Day. Let's never forget our sisters and everything we can ever do to help them. We'll do it. So if any ladies out there need help with their technology career, just contact us. You can find us on Twitter.
Wonderful. Amazing. Thank you. Such a pleasure.
Thank you,
Thank
Hayley.
you.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.